Okay. Good morning, everyone. So I am humbled, grateful, excited, and nervous this morning. But I am so grateful to be here with all of you. Dr. McCoy, Renee, thank you so much for inviting me. To all that have collaborated with me in preparing this speech today, I don't want to forget anyone, so I'll just say thank you. Thank you to my family and my friends for being here. Especially thank you to someone who hasn't been on this campus since May 18th, 2003. You'd probably remember that around that time there was graduation time, and that's my daddy, and he's sitting over there with my BFF and other parents. So I just appreciate them coming here to support. And then also I just want to say another quick thank you to, I don't even know if he's in the room, Professor Heighthouse. Are you here? I don't know. He's in Costa Rica, and I'm calling him out? Darn it. Okay, so this is the man who gave me my first D ever in life. I was a little hot with him. We've had a conversation. We had a conversation last year, and we called it truces, but he's the one that introduced me to a liberal arts education. So y'all passed on the message that I called him out today. All right. So, well, this is such a wonderful opportunity to come to you. It's a very sensitive topic because it's something that we are seeing all over the news, on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, everywhere. So you've had a sneak peek. So let's start. By a show of hands, I want to know who here enjoys being uncomfortable. Just raise your hand. Who here enjoys it? I see one. I see a few. Who here is even uncomfortable raising their hand? Raise your hand. Well, there you go. There's a couple of us that are uncomfortable. Well, today, I want to take you down an uncomfortable road, a road that we may all encounter at one time in our life, a time when we may experience an identity crisis or a feeling of rejection or isolation. I want to tell you about a girl that I met when I was in 5th grade. We bonded pretty quickly after an experience she had on the playground. But before I even get into that, let me tell you a little bit about her life. Born at Condell Memorial Hospital in Libertyville, Illinois, a Chicago suburb, her father worked at S.C. Johnson, formerly Dracket. You know the people that sell Windex. Anybody here use Windex? All right. Her mother, she was a catalog manager at Sears. It was actually the largest department in the Sears store. After a couple of years, her family moved to Cincinnati as her dad got a phenomenal job promotion. They stayed there for a year until they moved to Pennsylvania. See, they've moved so many times. They lived in a 2-story home with white siding, a very large gated backyard with a swing set, and many kids in the neighborhood to play with. In the spring and summer months, she loved to wear her hair in pigtails, play with her neighborhood friends, ride her bike around the neighborhood, play Ghost in the Graveyard. Anybody here know what Ghost in the Graveyard is? A couple of you? Okay, y'all need to go Google that. All right. Hide and seek, and loved having sleepovers. She and her younger sister also enjoyed playing in the backyard on their swing set. Catch caterpillars and put them in containers just to see if they really would become butterflies. She was in private school from preschool through 2nd grade and earned mostly A's and B's. Her parents would give her $1 for every A, and being a little girl at that age, she thought she was rich. She finally transitioned to public school after she begged her parents to attend South Fayette Elementary in 3rd grade with her cousins. She continued earning excellent grades and was even awarded Student of the Week. In music class, she even learned all the states in alphabetical order to a song that she still knows to this day. Aside from her weird obsession with this song, she loved attending her brownie troop meetings and random visits to Chuck E. Cheese's, even though she was scared of the rat. One day, while they were riding in the car, her dad told her and her sister that he was being transferred back to Cincinnati, Ohio, after they had lived in Pennsylvania for 8 years. The little girl and her sister were devastated and didn't really want to leave because they had so many friends. But they did not pay the bills. So guess what? They packed up their stuff and they moved back to Cincinnati. She finished up her 5th grade, literally only like 1 month left of school in this new establishment. She was finally starting to make friends in class and overcoming the stress of being the new kid during the last month of school. During recess, she loved playing Foursquare. Anybody love here playing Foursquare? Yes, love Foursquare. It was her absolute favorite thing to play. Every day, that's where you'd find her, on the Foursquare pavement with her little friends, hitting the ball back and forth with the other 3 opponents. Now, there was one day that was like no other. Someone hit the ball extremely hard, and it flew over the fence and down the very steep hill. Out of nowhere, this white boy yells, "Go get the ball, you big, fat nigger." Immediately, her heart dropped to her stomach. Her eyes got bright red as tears dropped down her face. She could not stop them, even though she tried. She got hot. Her stomach started turning. She was boiling. She tried to cover her face to shelter herself from hurt and embarrassment. This was the exact moment when I met that little girl in 5th grade. This was the moment that I met Leslie Nicole Williams, now Leslie Nicole Smith, the black fat girl. Yes, I was one of 2 black girls in my class. No, I was not built like the other girls, but I was in no way fat. But I guess I didn't realize that I was different all of those years. At the age of 11, I met myself, a little black girl who was having an identity crisis. Who was I? Is this why people looked at me differently? Is this why the room stopped with stares when I walked into a room? Is this why I couldn't just wash my hair and it be straight like all of my other friends? I mean, I knew that I was black, but now I knew that I was black. At this moment, I became extremely uncomfortable. I told my teacher, or maybe it was a teacher on the recess duty, and of course when I got home, I told my parents. They contacted the school, and honestly, I don't remember exactly what transpired after that. What I do remember is that the resolution was basically nothing, like a simple slap on the hand. Why would this boy call me the N-word? How did he even know what that word meant? I was confused on how to react. In doing research for this speaking engagement, I discovered that the Rodney King verdict was announced just a month or 2 before I arrived at this new elementary school. Because the officers were acquitted on assault charges, riots broke out in LA and caused 63 people to die, and over 2,000 were injured. That's more than that's in this gym. Maybe that was it. He heard it on television or on the radio. Or maybe he just heard it at home. There's just no way that this young boy knew to call me that name in elementary school. Could he? It was learned, right? So here we are again. Unfortunate tragedies like the Rodney King case are happening right now in our society just because of skin color, cultural differences, religious beliefs, gender, and sexual identity. So what should we be doing? What questions should we be asking? What does this mean for your children, your life, your education, your place in the workforce? Will you know, or do you know, how to interact with people who may be or look different than you? Fast forward about 10 years when I was a student here at DePauw. My friends and I went to a sandwich shop right off campus whose name will remain nameless. It's no longer in Greencastle, but I remember going there with them at night when it was closed to closing time. They had locked the doors, but there were still people eating and ordering. They told us that they weren't taking any further customers and that they were closed. Needless to say, they told us that they weren't taking any further customers and they were closed. But then they opened the door to let a few white individuals in and let them order. Needless to say, I was livid. How dare they do that to us? My friends, one who is white and one who was Indian, was like, let's just leave, Leslie, let's just leave. I was like, no. Why did they just do this to us? It may not have been because of race, but at that moment, it sure did feel like it. It showed me that privilege, white privilege to be exact, was real. After speaking to the manager the next day, he offered me a free sub, but I told him it wasn't about getting free food, but rather having an understanding of how to treat all customers equal. And just so you know, I never went back and I never did get that free sub, just so you know. Maybe you're like me, maybe you're not. Maybe you can relate to some parts of my story. Maybe you can't relate to any of it. Maybe you don't believe white privilege exists. Maybe you do. But the truth of the matter is, many, if not all of us, have faced a time when we felt isolated, rejected, or experienced an identity crisis. When did it happen to you? Was it the time when someone challenged you because of your faith? Was it the time when someone said, "Can I touch your hair?" Was it the time people assumed you were racist because you voted for President Trump? Was it the time when DACA was rescinded? Was it the time that you came out to your family and friends? Was it the time when you were mistreated because of your weight or even your height? Was it the time when you had to pass up Marv's with your friends to save for your books? Reflect on the questions I just asked. Do any of these questions resonate with you? What about your friends, your family, classmates, the person sitting right next to you, your roommate, the person you recently met in Hoover Hall, your sorority sisters that's new to your house? What about your teammate, your professor? To the DePauw faculty and staff, what about your colleague, your student, your children, your grandchildren? The reality is that there are people throughout this gymnasium who have been negatively impacted as a result of these uncomfortable times in their lives. So let's circle back. How do you find comfort and embrace uncomfortable situations like today's day of dialogue? How do you have conversations about differences? I'm going to give you 4 steps to find comfort when we find ourselves in these uncomfortable conversations. First, we must take 100% responsibility for ourselves. Yes, Leslie Nicole Smith is telling you to deal with yourself. What are your biases? The truth is, we all have them, whether they've been taught to us or impressed upon us. But guess what? We can work toward understanding others by first identifying the biases we have within ourselves. You cannot change what's going on around you until you start changing what's going on within you. What you think truly impacts what you feel, say, see, and even affects how you treat people in your life. Okay, it's a little tense in here. Woohoo! So let's do a fun activity. Take out your hands. Y'all look so cute. All right. You see the line that goes across your wrist right here? What I want you to do, put them together like you're in prayer stance. If you're like most people, you're going to notice that one of your hands is taller or longer than the other. Anybody see that? All right, I see some heads nodding. All right. Take the shorter hand and put it in front of your face. That's right. I want you to talk to the hand. Talk to the hand. All right. Now, if you're one of those people where they're both the same size, just take one of your hands and put it in front of your face. All right? Now, we're going to do an activity. We are going to talk to the hand. What I want you to do in unison is say, grow longer 8 times. Are you ready? Are you ready? Thank you. I need some participation. I don't want to feel like I'm alone. All right. Ready? Go. Grow longer. 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 Okay, stop. Now line them back up exactly as they were. What happened? Oh my gosh. Amazing. I'm so happy that worked. Okay. How many of you found that your hand actually got longer? Raise your hand. Don't be uncomfortable. Okay, so we got some people in the room where their hands got longer. Now, for 99% of you, your hands are probably the exact same size, and honestly, they were originally, but some of you were influenced by what I told you, that one of your hands was shorter than the other. Then your mind convinced yourself that saying grow longer 8 times would actually make your hand grow within 10 seconds time. That's freaking ridiculous. It's a silly illustration, but it proves one thing. We're impacted and influenced by what we're taught, but our thoughts have some amazing power to change our reality and perspective. I'm not that creative and did not come up with that experiment myself. It's actually an exercise that has been illustrated time and time again. But the point is, it shows the power we truly have on making a difference within ourselves. It may not be that simple to change in a matter of minutes, but as you're having these discussions today, be mindful of your biases. Own them, take responsibility for them, and decide whether you need to intentionally make a shift in your mindset. Number 2, we must identify why we are so uncomfortable talking about our differences. The truth is that we must answer the question individually for ourselves. Could it be because you're afraid? Or maybe you don't want to offend someone. You don't want to embarrass yourself, right? Or maybe even it's because it could expose your own biases. The key is to listen, be open, and talk calmly. This invites dialogue. For point number 3, I need 3 volunteers. Who wants to volunteer? Okay, I see 1 up there. Come on down. Yep, 1, 3, over here. Right over here. Green shirt. Come on up. Let's give them a round of applause. Woo-hoo! All right, we're going to start with you. What's your name?
Jack.
Jack, what year are you?
Freshman.
Welcome to DePauw. All right. What's your name?
Can I? My name is Duy. I'm from Hanoi, Vietnam. Remember that, please?
What year are you?
I'm also a freshman, please.
Freshman? Am I picking all freshmen? All right.
Hi, I'm Shaylee,
Hi, and what year are you?
sophomore.
Sophomore. Okay, so give them a round of applause. All right. Here, take this. Oh, take this from me. I need them to pick 2 crayons. I need somebody to take this. All right. Take 2 crayons. Take the microphone. I want you to describe these 2. Actually, I need somebody to take this. Oh, hold on. I'll take that. All right. Describe your crayons to us. Describe your crayons to us. All right.
It's a Crayola crayon. It's black. And then I have a purple one too.
It's also a Crayola crayon. I guess I got yellow one and green, I suppose.
Tell us about the wrapper on the yellow one.
Oh, there's no wrap around the yellow. Ooh.
I have a green crayon that's short, and it's a Crayola. And I have another Crayola, twistable. It's not like the other crayon.
Okay. What's your name again?
Shaylee.
Shaylee. Okay. So this back on. Hello. What? It is on. Okay. There you go. Okay. So this crayon right here, this one is short. What happened to it? It got caught or ruined. Okay. So these are my kids' crayons. It's my kids' crayons, and they do break things. They unravel things. But what do all 6 of these crayons have in common? Oh, wait a minute. We forgot about this crayon. You said it's purple?
Yeah.
Is it a normal crayon? No. What's different? What's different about it?
The purple one is much bigger than the black one. It's even longer too.
Okay. So it's fat and long and tall and thick, right? And purple? Okay. All right. All right. So all of these crayons, they all look different, right? Okay. I appreciate you all. Thank you so much for coming up and describing going back to kindergarten with us, all right? Give them a round of applause. So these crayons are different colors, shapes, sizes, and may serve different purposes, but at the end of the day, they all bleed wax and have the same function, right? To color, draw, write, and create a masterpiece of artwork. Now, there have been times when I've heard the following statements: I don't see color, or I don't teach my children to see color. What I personally think is that what I personally think people mean is that they see color, but choose not to treat people differently as a result of their color. When I pick up these crayons, it's obvious that I see all the different colors of the rainbow. Like these crayons, we are all uniquely and wonderfully made. We're different, and honestly, that's truly okay. Actually, it's pretty awesome. You are uniquely you, and I am uniquely me. We each have our own purpose, and that's what makes our world beautiful. Just think if we all looked alike and sounded exactly alike, how boring life would be. Lastly, we must approach our conversations with love, respect, and civility. When I speak of our conversations, I don't just mean our conversations here today. I mean at home, with your family, your friends, in your dorm rooms, in Greek houses, in your jobs, in the lunchroom, and in the classroom. It's so discouraging to see the many riots, disagreements, violence, and so on, and so on, and so on, as a result of people hating each other because of XYZ. One of the wisest persons to ever live said, no one is born hating another person because of the color of his skin, or his background, or his religion. People must learn to hate. And if they can learn to hate, they can be taught to love. For love comes more naturally to the human heart than its opposite. The great Nelson Mandela. Case in point, look at the recent hurricane victims and how they all rallied together. Or what about the tragedies at the Orlando Pulse nightclub or the Boston Marathon? They supported each other in their time of need. What about 9/11? Look at how they embraced each other. I still remember waking up on that September 11th morning and seeing those buildings crumble to the ground on my television. My friend Kim and I watched it on my small 13-inch box TV on the first floor of Mason Hall. The New York Posse students, they were terrified. Many of them could not get through to their family members at home because the cell phone lines were down. It was chaos. I remember watching the replays in our classes that day. Professor Owari was so sensitive to the silence of shock in the classroom as we stared at the television in true disbelief. One of my classes was canceled so we could process what was going on. You could literally walk on campus and hear a pin drop because everyone was so shocked at what transpired that morning. But at the end of the day, we, as a DePauw community, united. We embraced each other through tears, hugs, conversation, silence. At that moment, race, gender, sexual identity, religion, none of that mattered. Just like none of it mattered in any of the other tragedies I mentioned. Why? Because we acknowledged each other as people. Yes, we all had our own unique perspectives, purposes in life. We all looked different, had different political and religious beliefs, but at the end of the day, we supported each other. Now you may say, Leslie, that all sounds groovy, that all sounds great, but the people who need to hear this aren't even here today. Well, guess what? I challenge you to be the start of something new. You be the change agent. You start the conversation. But remember to do it with respect, love, and civility. So today I charge you to do something, say something, stand up for yourself, stand up for each other. Use your power to influence change. As you're talking to your peers, teachers, staff, and students, remember that little girl from 5th grade whose feelings were hurt on the playground. Helen Keller, actually, I want to tell you something else. The little girl in 5th grade, she's a member of this DePauw community, which is comprised of different races, backgrounds, ethnicities, nationalities, religious beliefs, upbringings. We're Black, white, immigrants, international, interracial, multiracial, have different perceptions, political affiliations. We are different. This should matter to all of us. It's not just up to me to make the change, or you, or you, or you. It's up to us. This is a we thing. Helen Keller once said, alone we can do so little. Together we can do so much. Let's not wait until another tragedy hits in order for us to unite. Let's have the conversation, take action, and create our own masterpiece of artwork. We are leaders. We are uncommon. We are DePauw. Now go. Go embrace being uncomfortable. Thank you.